Hi, this is Tim.
It's Kamala Harris. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning, Madam Vice President.
Listen, you weren't my first choice. To be honest, you weren't even in my top 10. But no one else wants to run as my VP because they all know I'm going to lose. You are the only one who is willing to be my running mate.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically career suicide. But I did some dumb shit a few years back, and now I'm totally controlled by the deep state. And so they told me either I become your running mate or I get Epstein in a New York prison.
Now, the fact that we're both radical communists is a slight problem, but I got some instructions from Big Daddy Barack. Basically, we're going to pretend that you're a normal American white guy. There's a bunch of things you did that we got to run away from here. You passed a law requiring tampons in the boys' bathroom in schools. You basically cheered on the George Floyd rioters who burned down your cities. You implemented a snitch hotline during COVID. And Tim, you signed a law that allows the state to take custody of children if their parents refuse to let them transition. I mean, what the f***, Tim? We got a lot of cleanup to do here. But listen, we already got the mainstream media gaslighting America into thinking that you're super normal.
This is America's dad, America's football coach, and the teacher that's cool enough without trying to be cool.
A lot of people have noticed this sort of down-to-earth, likable quality to him.
Very moderate in Congress.
A moderate Democrat, a centrist, but a more centrist.
Kind of a centrist Midwesterner in persona.
That's pretty funny because I'm weird as f***.
Americans are dumb, Tim. They'll believe anything we tell them.
They are so dumb, right?
They think I'm black. Okay, so here's the plan. In order to hide your own weirdness, we want you to accuse Trump and J.D. Vance of being weird. Just say it over and over again.
Weird, 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 weird. And then they start being weird. They're weird, 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 weird. Donald Trump's weirdness. Very weird, weird. It's just too weird. It's weird, weird. Okay, so how far left are we admitting to being here? Like, are we openly woke?
We have to stay woke. Like, everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke. Yeah. No, we're flip-flopping on everything right now. We want to keep the voters confused. You know when your GPS suddenly starts rerouting inexplicably and you have no idea where you're going and you're afraid your GPS might just drive you off a cliff? We're exactly like that.
What do we say if reporters ask us about policy stuff?
Oh, we're not taking questions from reporters, Tim. We're not prepared for that. But if you do find yourself in a tricky spot with a reporter, just cackle.
Cackle.
Yeah, cackle.
You're considered the most liberal United States senator.
Somebody said that, and it actually was Mike Pence on the debate stage. But
yeah. And is that a socialist or progressive perspective?
No. Like, what do you want to know?
Wow, that's horrifying.
Exactly. It's horrifying, but distracting. Okay, so Tim, tell me, your radical left political views, are those real?
Oh, no, of course not. No, honestly, I will have whatever political views you pay me to have.
I love it, Tim. You're like the white male version of me.
You're right. No one voted for me either. Hey, Kamala, let's see what can be unburdened by what has been.
All right, buddy. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.
Hey, you ever notice that Harris Walz sounds like Harry Balls?
I had not noticed that. Thank you for that. Bye, Tim.
Mr. Reagan. I'm Professor Sun and Beesmans, and I approve this message.
Good evening, American patriots. You got many places to be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I'm forever grateful. Thank you very, very much. Before we get into tonight's show, I want to talk a little bit about that clip that you just saw. Now, it's obvious to anyone with a brain, even if you just had a quarter of the brain that you were using, that that's satire. All right. Now, that being said, I want to talk about this whole thing that we've been told by our government, primarily, Democrats and Republicans up in Congress, about TikTok and China. How they've been telling us that TikTok is controlled by China and they put out what is and isn't allowed, and that we should all come off of TikTok, and that they're spying on us, and no. You've all heard what they've been saying, so I don't really need to go deeper into that. But I think I've come to the conclusion tonight that that's all smoke and mirrors, and that China ain't got a damn thing to do with TikTok. Now, why would I say that? Well, because on my TikTok channel, I posted that same satire video that you just saw. And TikTok removed it. And they said, content can't be restored. It was determined that your content violates our community guidelines. And the reason being synthetic and manipulated media. And it goes on to talk about how we welcome artificial intelligence and AI, but when you're doing something where it's showing a public figure or a non-public figure that's not actually what they're saying, therefore it goes against our violations. Okay, so China doesn't give a shit about our elections. If anything, they're in the tank to try and screw our elections. So the whole fact that they took this down is laughable to me. It only tells me that, once again, our government is full of shit when they talk about TikTok being something that China is controlling. So anyhow, I just wanted to get that out there. For YouTube, I put it up on my YouTube channel, and I had to put in the description that it's satire in order for YouTube to allow it to be played. I mean, that's just, oh my Lord. All right, so let's get into tonight's show. I want to start with a letter that I'd like to share with you. Unless you're from Florida, you don't know who this guy is. He is a U.S. representative in Florida for Florida's 21st district. His name is Brian Mast, M-A-S-T. He is a retired United States Army Staff Sergeant, and he lost both of his legs serving in Afghanistan. So he sent a letter to Governor Tim Walz that I would like to share with you. The office of the Vice President is a position that requires the trust of the American people and a solemn commitment to duty on behalf of the United States of America. As veterans who have served our nation, we feel compelled to address your outrageous misrepresentation and urge you to come clean to the American people. You have stated that you are damn proud of your service, and like any American veteran, you should be. But there is no honor in lying about the nature of your service. Repeatedly claiming to be a retired command sergeant major when you did not complete the requirements was not honorable, nor was it honorable to claim to carry weapons in war when you had not served in war, and in fact, abandoning the men and women under your leadership just as they were getting ready to deploy was certainly not honorable either. To be blunt, when you falsely claim military service that did not happen and abandon your post, you diminish the real sacrifices made by veterans who did serve in combat. Military service is not merely a job or a uniform. Those who served in the armed forces endure rigorous training, face many difficult situations, and make sacrifices that most civilians can't comprehend. The honor of wearing the uniform is earned through dedication, bravery, and an unwavering sense of duty. You have displayed none of these characters as you have lied your way through a political career launched on the foundation of a title you did not earn and combat deployments that you did not take part in. In short, our grave concern stems from the fact that the office of the Vice President is one heartbeat away from becoming the Commander-in-Chief. You've already demonstrated your unwillingness to lead in the time of war and lack of honor through your blatant misrepresentations, exploiting and co-opting the experiences of America's combat veterans for personal gain. As a result, American veterans and service members are rightfully concerned about what would happen to them should you ascend to the presidency. When America asks you to lead your troops into war, you turn your back on your troops. You have violated the trust of our brothers and sisters in arms. Their blood, sweat, and sacrifice are the only reason our nation is able to exist. Until you admit you lied to them, there is no way you can be trusted to serve as vice president. Sincerely, Brian Mast, U.S. Representative, Florida 21, Staff Sergeant, United States Army, retired. And again, Brian lost both of his legs serving in Afghanistan. So to Staff Sergeant Mast, on behalf of America's veterans and American patriots, we thank you for your service to our great nation and your sacrifice and the sacrifice of your family, and also for taking the time to write this letter to the man who would like to be vice president of the United States and maybe one day president, who is guilty of stolen valor. We appreciate your service, sir, and we thank you. Another thing I'd like to add before we get into the cusp of tonight's show, I've read this before and I want to read it again. The 2024 GOP platform, Make America Great Again, and what it actually means to those Democrats and liberals out there who like to tune into this show. Number one, seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. And I will remind you, Democrats and liberals, Republicans and conservatives are for people from other countries coming to America and wanting to become American citizens. We welcome you with open arms. We do not welcome with open arms those that come here illegally and try and jump the line to those that came here legally and did the right thing. We do not welcome the drug traffickers, the sex traffickers, the MS-13 gang members. We welcome normal people that want to come here for the right reasons to become an American citizen. We welcome that. Everyone in America living today did not start here. If you trace back your ancestry, you came from someplace else. We are a melting pot, which is what makes this country great. We will continue to be that, and Republicans and conservatives will continue to support that. But we do not support breaking the law. That's the big difference between conservatives and Republicans and liberals and Democrats. Number two, carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. And what that means, it's already been put forward by J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, is we're going to start with those that have already committed crimes in America, and this woke justice system of ours let them back out on the streets to continue to commit crimes, more crimes, in some cases, actual rape and murder. Those people are leaving this country under Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. We will start there. Number three, end inflation and make America affordable again. Number four, make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. If you don't recall this, for the first time in American history, Donald Trump saw to it that we were no longer dependent on oil and gas from countries that want to kill us. The Biden administration came on board and put us right back in that same damn category again. Number five, stop outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower again. Number six, large tax cuts for workers and no tax on restaurant workers and bar workers on their tips. Number seven, defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our fundamental freedoms, including the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, and the right to keep and bear arms. 8, prevent World War III, which we are just moments from. Restore peace in Europe and the Middle East, and build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our country, all made by Americans. And you may recall that we have actually built that defense and we sold it to Israel. Well, now under Trump and Walz, forgive me, God, under Trump and J.D. Vance, we will build that system to cover America. In the weaponization of government against the American people, and that is get rid of the leaders of the FBI and the Department of Justice. Number 10, stop the migrant crime epidemic, demolish the foreign drug cartels, crush gang violence, and lock up violent offenders. 11, rebuild our cities, including Washington, D.C. Make them safe, clean, and beautiful again, instead of third world shithole countries is what they look like today. 12, strengthen our modernization, our military, making it without question the strongest and most powerful in the world. And right now, as I've been telling you, and many others have as well, our military is suffering drastically. We are very close to having to come back with a draft again because nobody wants to join our military because of the wokeness that has happened there. Number 13, keep the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency and fight tooth and nail to make sure it stays that way. 14, fight and protect Social Security and Medicare with no cuts, including no change to the retirement age. 15, cancel the electric vehicle mandate and cut costly and burdensome regulations. 16, cut federal funding to any school pushing critical race theory, radical gender ideology, and other inappropriate radical, sexual, racial, or political content on our children. 17, keep men out of women's sports. 18, deport pro-Hamas radicals and make our college campuses safe and patriotic once again. 19, secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter identification, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship. The Democrats don't want you to have to prove who you are to vote. But guess what? You can't get into the DNC unless you show ID. That's hypocrisy 101. And last, number 20, unite our country by bringing it to new and record levels of success. None of this the Democrats and liberals want to see because they don't want to make this country great again. They want to see this country suffer just like the other countries across planet Earth. And they do not want us to be any better than anyone else. That's how this wokeness shit works. Okay, let's dive into tonight's news. In a devastating bombshell to the Democrat talking points about the economy, drum roll please, the U.S. economy created 818,000 fewer jobs than previously reported. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reversed and revised down its total tally of jobs created in the year through March by 818,000 as part of its preliminary annual benchmark review of payroll data. That suggests the economy added an average of 174,000 jobs per month during that time period, well below the previous 242,000 estimated. On a monthly basis, that amounts to about 68,000 fewer jobs. It marks the largest downward revision since 2009. The revision data is mostly diverted from states' unemployment tax records and employers are required to file. The figure, which is preliminary, may be updated when the government releases the final figure, which will be in February 2025. Professional and business services accounted for nearly half of the downward revision. There were also large downward revisions in other sectors, including manufacturing, leisure and hospitality, and information. Federal Reserve policymakers are closely watching for signs that the labor market is starting to crack in the face of high interest rates. So as many of us have been saying, the numbers weren't adding up. And let's talk about the jobs that have come back since Biden took office. Besides the fact that these numbers were wrong by 818,000, the jobs that came back, for the most part, were those returning to work after the COVID pandemic. So once again, when it comes to our economy, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, has not done shit for you, the American people. Now, let's fact check night 2 of the Democrat National Convention. There were fewer false or misleading claims on the second night of the Democrat National Convention, which took place on Tuesday. When I did my show Tuesday, I told you about Monday nights, the opening night, and all the lies that they told. So for Tuesday, speakers generally made factual statements. That's a plus. Told personal stories, expressed subjective opinions, or offered unchecked predictions. Here's a fact check of one false claim, one misleading claim, and one claim that left out some important contents. Plus content about Project 2025, a conservative think tank initiative that has been repeatedly invoked by convention speakers. Various Democrat National Convention speakers have invoked Project 2025, saying or hinting that the project is former President Donald Trump's own agenda. Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont referred to Trump's Project 2025 Tuesday night. State Representative Malcolm Kenyatta of Pennsylvania used the same phrase. Senator Gary Peters of Michigan, talking about Trump and running mate Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio, referred to their Project 2025 agenda. Project 2025 has emphasized that it is not affiliated with former President Trump. Trump claimed in July that I know nothing about Project 2025. I have no idea who is behind it. CNN cannot definitely fact check what's in Trump's brain and isn't in Trump's brain. But guess where I'm getting all these fact checks from that I'm talking about last Tuesday night and tonight? Democrats and liberals. You guessed it, not Fox News. These facts aren't coming from right-wing media of the Trump campaign. No, they're coming from your CNN darlings themselves. But it is clear that Trump does have connections to Project 2025 because of some of the people working on it that were part of his past administration. But that in no way makes him on board with their agenda. Trump's stance on Project 2025 proposal. It's not clear how much of the extensive Project 2025 policy document Trump supports and how much he rejects. Trump has said that some of the document is absolutely ridiculous. But he's also said that many of the points are fine. He has not specified which proposals he rejects and which he finds acceptable. A spokesperson for Trump's campaign told CNN in August, President Trump's campaign made it clear that the only President Trump and the campaign and not any other organization or former staff member represents policies for Trump's second term. Yet they continue to spread this lie to their sheep. So here we go again with lies to the sheep who eat up this information and make their word, take their word as facts without doing their homework. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders on Tuesday night reminded Democrat National Convention attendees of the dark times in the U.S. during the COVID-19 pandemic. Remember where we were 3.5 years ago? We were in the midst of the worst public health crisis in 100 years and the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression, Sanders said. Unemployment was soaring. That was the reality the Biden-Harris administration faced as they entered the Oval Office, he continued. Well, Mr. Sanders, let's clear you up with CNN fact-checking. Claims that the labor market at the start of the Biden administration is not true. While the unemployment rate skyrocketed in April 2020 at the start of the pandemic, the situation was improving by the time President Joe Biden took office in January of 2021. The nation's self-imposed shutdown in the early months of the pandemic led to millions of people losing their jobs in April 2020 as the unemployment rate shot up 14.8%. By the following January, the nation's labor market has significantly improved, with millions of Americans regaining employment, though the U.S. still had a long way to go to recover all the jobs that were lost. The unemployment rate had fallen to 6.4%. Again, another Democrat lie, but it is to be expected from socialists like Bernie Sanders. When touting the accomplishment of the president, Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders made the claim about the impact of the expanded child tax credit passed earlier in the administration. We cut childhood poverty by over 40% through an expanded tax child credit, Sanders said during his primetime remarks at the Democrat National Convention. Well, let's fact check that from CNN, shall we? Sanders' claim needs contents, and a lot of it. It's true that the expanded child tax credit slashed the child poverty rate in 2021, but the benefit only lasted for less than 1 year because it was temporary. The American Rescue Plan Act, which Democrats pushed through Congress in March of 2021, increased the size of the child tax credit up to $3,600 from $2,000 for eligible families, enabling many low-income parents to claim it and distribute half of it on a monthly basis. But in 2022, child poverty soared to 12.4%, roughly comparable to where it was prior to the pandemic in 2019. It was the largest jump in child poverty since the supplemental poverty measure began. Again, Sanders can't help himself, and the sheep are in love with every word he said. On the second night of the Democrat National Convention, just like on the first night, another lie about injecting bleach was told. This time it was Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker repeated a claim a Democrat congressman had made the previous night about something former President Donald Trump said about the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. After touting Illinois' handling of the pandemic, he then said of Trump and Donald, well, Donald told us to inject bleach. CNN fact check. This claim, just like the same claim on the first night of the DNC, is false. Trump never mentioned the possibility of using disinfectant to treat COVID-19 as actual advice to Americans. Rather, Trump was talking about the possibility of scientists testing the possibility of using disinfectants as treatment. Again, they just keep lying and the sheep keep eating it up as facts. Then there was last night. Let's fact check from CNN, liberals and Democrats. Night 3 of the DNC. For the third straight night, there were false or misleading claims at the Democrat National Convention. For instance, Colorado governor made a false claim about Project 2025. Colorado Governor Jared Polis joined other speakers of the Democrat National Convention on Wednesday in attacking Project 2025 after holding up what he said was a copy of the 290-page Project 2025 policy document, which is called Mandate for Leadership. The government said at one point, page 451, says that the only legitimate family is married mother and father, where only the father works. CNN said you're full of shit. Fact check, you lying sack of gerbil nuts. Your claim is false. And yeah, I added the gerbil nuts thing. CNN didn't say that, by the way. Through the Project 2025 policy doctrine urges for the importance of the nuclear family made up of a married woman, mother, and father, it does not say that this is the only legitimate family. And it certainly does not say that a family with a working mother is illegitimate. His inaccurate claim echoes an online meme that was debunked last month by Snoops, USA Today, and others. Mary Volt, Vice President of Strategic Communications for the Heritage Foundation, told CNN in a message on Wednesday night, "As a working mother myself, I know this claim is simply a lie. The mandate for leadership says nothing about which families are legitimate and which are not." If the governor actually read the page he cited, he would know that, but he did not. And his sheep loved every bit of that lie. Then to double down on the lie, Congresswoman Lisa Blunt Rochester of Delaware falsely claimed Trump actually wrote Project 2025. Speaking about Project 2025 and Trump, she said he has, with his friends, said the quiet parts out loud, but not only said it out loud, he wrote the book about it. What's it called? It's called Project 2025. Once again, CNN Facts Checking says the claim that Trump wrote Project 2025 is false. There is no evidence that Trump was personally involved in writing Project 2025 policy document, let alone that he wrote it or wrote the book. It is not among the document's listed authors, editors, and contributors, although there are people who served in his administration that are on that list. But noting that Trump has extensive ties to Project 2025 is significantly different than claiming that Trump actually wrote Project 2025, CNN said. Noah Wintrich, a spokesperson for Project 2025, said in a message to CNN on Wednesday night, Project 2025 is not affiliated with any candidate, and no candidate was involved in the drafting of the mandate for leadership, which was published by the Heritage in 2023. Trump has said that some of the document is absolutely ridiculous, but also said many points are fine. He has not specified which one he accepts or rejects. Former President Bill Cigars and BJ's in the Oval Office, Clinton, spoke and highlighted the jobs created in the U.S. since the end of the Cold War in 1989, noting that of the 51 million jobs added, 50 million of those were created during Democratic administrations. He said, quote, "Since the end of the Cold War in 1989, America has created about 51 million new jobs. I swear, I checked this 3 times. Even I couldn't believe it. What's the score? Democrats 50, Republicans 1, he said during his remarks at the Democrat National Convention last night. CNN facts checks. Part of Clinton's claim is true, although aspects such as timing, founding, and large-scale national crisis influencing the math. First, it depends on when the clock starts. From January of 1989 through July of 2024, the U.S. economy added a net of 51.825 million jobs, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics seasonally adjusted data. Tabulating the monthly job totals and starting in February for the respective presidential administrations, there were 50.281 million jobs added during Democrat administrations and 1.544 million jobs added during Republican administrations, including January 1989's 263,000 net gain, as was the end of the Republican presidential Ronald Reagan's term. The totals vary slightly if the presidential term started in January, 49.985 million for Democrat presidents and 1.84 million for Republican presidents. However, presidential terms don't start at the end in a vacuum, and the economy cycles can carry over regardless of the party. Additionally, the ups and downs of the labor market on the broader economy are influenced by factors beyond a single president, although specific economy policies can influence economic and job growth. Clinton's data points also leaves out some very important issues: the dot-com bubble, 9/11, the Great Recession, and the COVID-19 pandemic. Job losses, which were sometimes massive, were prevalent during those crises and respective downturns. But even though he misled the sheep, they still believed and ate up every word of "Bill, I never had sex with that woman," Clinton said. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries made a claim Wednesday that has been delivered for years by various Democrats, including President Joe Biden himself. In Jeffries' remarks at the National Convention, the New York Democrats said of former President Donald Trump's 2017 tax cut or tax law, Trump was the mastermind of the GOP tax scam, where 83% of benefits went to the wealthiest 1% in America. CNN fact-checked that, you dumbass. This is another Democrat lie. It is not true that the top 1% already gotten 83% of benefits of the tax cuts since Trump signed them into law in 2017. Rather, the 83% figure is a 2017 estimate from a Tax Policy Center think tank on the percentage of the benefits the top 1% of taxpayers would get in the future in 2027 in the event that the law, individual tax cuts, which were designed as temporary, were allowed to expire at the end of 2025 without an extension, and that the law's corporate tax cut, which was designed as permanent, continued. The benefit breakdown is much different while the individual tax cut and corporate tax cuts are both in place. The Tax Policy Center estimated in 2017 that in 2025, the top 1% of taxpayers would get about 25% of the benefits. That is still a very large chunk, but nowhere near the 83% that the Democrats are lying to their sheep about. Kamala Harris is weak. She's a failure and disastrous liberal. Not only does Kamala Harris own the weakness, failure, and chaos of the Harris-Biden administration, she is so radical that she makes the squad look like moderates. She wants to abolish our borders, let criminals control our streets, surrender our communities to the cartel and a plague of fentanyl, wage war on American energy, and destroy the American dream. And I dare any liberal Democrat to fact check what I just said. You're welcome to come on this show and debate me on it. It's 100% factual if you know what the hell you're talking about. Joe Biden appointed her border czar, yet she opened the southern border to illegal alien criminals and deadly fentanyl as vice president, was the tie-breaking vote for far-left spending bills and raised taxes that sent prices skyrocketing for families across this country. While Harris has tried to rewrite history on her extreme record, she can't hide from her promises to set murderers free, dismantle America's border security, raise costs with massive spending bills, bring back the Green New Deal scam, eliminate private health insurance, and more. Here is some of that more that Kamala Harris and Walz are ready for. Kamala Harris supported the Minnesota Freedom Fund, helping to bail out now convicted murderers and violent criminals. One man that was freed by this bail fund went on to commit murder. She'll bring the MFF's policy to the White House. Kamala Harris actively supports bailing violent criminals out of jail and allowing violent illegal aliens to roam our streets. Case in point, Kamala Harris called on her supporters to chip in to the Minnesota Freedom Fund, according to the new reporting from CNN. That fund went on to bail out at least 65 people in a single county accused of felony charges, including violence, physical threats, or sex crimes. All were convicted. The MFF paid bail for looters arrested in the 2020 riots, for a twice convicted rapist, a man accused of sexually assaulting an 8-year-old girl, a man accused of various assaults and robbery, a man charged with attacking a woman in a restaurant bathroom, and even several serial domestic abusers, among dozens of other criminals. That makes sense considering Kamala Harris supports ending cash bail, even for violent criminals. Record high gas prices under the Harris-Biden administration are the price to pay for democracy. Remember, Kamala proudly delivered the dissenting vote that allowed the $1.9 trillion stimulus to be passed? Don't listen to former Obama economist Jason Furman, who said the spending bill is too big, or former Obama and Clinton economist Larry Summers, who said the tremendous wall of money led to inflation, or former Obama economic advisor Stephen Ratter, who called Kamala's $1.9 trillion stimulus the original sin of inflation. Harris was the deciding vote on the inflation fueling $1.9 trillion stimulus. Harris owns this inflation and everyone knows it. Even liberal economists admit Harris' massive spending spree sent inflation soaring. Former Obama and Clinton economist Larry Summers, the tremendous wall of money and the Democrats released last spring led to inflation. Former Obama economist Jason Furman, the spending bill is too big. Don't know any economist who supports that much. Former Obama economist advisor Stephen Ratter, the original sin was passing the $1.9 trillion, which has contributed materially to today's inflation levels. Biden's Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, Harris's $1.9 trillion stimulus is one of the factors that are involved in inflation. Harris now claims her policies are working and wants to double down on the exact same agenda that will send prices even higher. In Kamala's America, the middle class will need to pay more. Those are the Harris tax hikes. Kamala Harris wants to eliminate the Trump tax cuts, which would mean a massive tax hike on middle-income families. Harris was the deciding vote for the Inflation Reduction Act, which decreased the average after-tax income for taxpayers at every income level. Americans earning less than $200,000 a year saw their taxes raised by $16.7 billion in 2023. Kamala Harris delivered on her promise to open our borders as borders are. Just look at the 10 million who have crossed already, an all-time record. Now it's time to abolish ICE, decriminalize illegal border crossings, give benefits to illegal aliens, and let them vote. Kamala Border Czar Harris is responsible for the worst border crisis in U.S. history. According to Harris, the current administration's immigration policies largely involve undoing the previous one's work. Unfortunately, she's right, and it fueled the invasion. The chaos we've seen, though it may be intentionally, Kamala Harris said illegal aliens are not criminals. And Harris opposes measures to increase border security and decrease illegal immigration. Kamala Harris believes American energy is just plain awful. Thankfully, she knows other countries we can import it from, just like Joe Biden. That's why she wants to ban fossil fuels. She wants to ban fracking. She wants to end oil drilling and export our energy supply chain to China. Her 100 trillion GND would do just that. In addition to ending all of those 2 million dirty energy jobs, they need to transition to new ones. Harris bragged about delivering the most ambitious climate agenda in history. What does that really mean? Hurting our environment, national security, and economic by exporting our energy supply chain to communist China? During her campaign for president, Harris said, "There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." She also touted an agreement to phase out fossil fuels, supported canceling the Keystone XL pipeline, which killed 11,000 jobs. And Harris called the record high gas prices seen under the Biden administration the price to pay for democracy. Indeed, Harris' commitment to killing American energy is not new. As Senator Kamala Harris co-sponsored a radical $93 trillion Green New Deal with Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, aka AOC, which estimated should kill up to 2 million jobs and cost an average family of $165,000. In 2017, Harris sponsored legislation to ban offshore drilling. On top of it all, she wants to ban particularly everything, including expressing support for banning plastic straws and a national reduction in red meat consumption. Because cow flatulent farts are destroying our ozone layer. Kamala believes the freedom of individuals associated with violent behavior, formerly referred to as violent criminals. Kamala will continue her record from her time as prosecutor, where San Francisco police officers said she was slow to prosecute numerous murder suspects, and said she regularly offered favorable plea deals to resolve cases out of trial. Harris supports defunding the police, as even CNN reports. Her record supporting defunding the police is a long one. She said it is outdated. It is wrong-headed thinking to think that more police officers make communities safe. And Harris has repeatedly called to reimagine the role of our police. As senator, Harris praised LA Mayor Eric Garcetti $150 million cut in police funding. When given the opportunity, Harris failed to prosecute criminals to the fullest extent of the law. As San Francisco DA, Harris chose not to seek the death penalty against the murderer of Hispanic San Francisco police officer or against an illegal immigrant MS-13 gang member who shot a father and his 2 sons. And police accused Harris of being slow to prosecute numerous murder suspects, and she regularly offered favorable plea deals to resolve cases out of trial. In 2010, Harris's DA office had to dismiss over 1,000 drug cases due to a scandal in the police crime lab, which Harris taking full responsibility for the failure. Harris DA office granted probation to a violent criminal who then went on to murder 2 men after she released him. To make matters worse, Harris said she would have a conversation about whether terrorists like the Boston Marathon bomber should vote from prison. Kamala Harris was proud to join the defund the police movement in 2020. She boldly said the protesters should not let up and applauded then LA Mayor Eric Garcetti for defunding the LA police. Kamala Harris believes it's terrible for people to have private health insurance, and that even if they like their plan, they shouldn't get to keep it. Under Harris's plan, all Americans would lose their health insurance in the name of fairness. That's why she co-sponsored the $32 trillion socialist healthcare takeover plan to make sure that everybody loses choices. Harris supports abolishing private insurance. She's even co-sponsored Bernie Sanders' $32 trillion socialist healthcare takeover bill. When asked about her plan, and specifically on if people would like their plan can keep it, She said, let's eliminate all of that. To add insult to injury, while denying Americans insurance, she supports providing taxpayer-funded health insurance for illegal immigrants. Studies also show that her plan would also lead to as many as 50% of rural hospitals having to close down and shut their doors. And last, Kamala Harris believes it's selfish that seniors want to ensure benefits only go to American citizens. They should pay for benefits for illegal aliens. Who cares if that destroys the program? Kamala believes illegal aliens should receive taxpayer-funded benefits. And while she's at it, she wants to expand the government's takeover, even if it puts over 50% of rural hospitals out of business. Move to a city. During the Harris-Biden administration, seniors saw the largest ever Medicare Part B premium increase in 2022, jumping 14.5%. Democrats still have no plan to protect Social Security and Medicare benefits. And that tells you all you need to know, especially since Harris wants to give benefits to tens of millions of illegal aliens, which would destroy the programs completely. Yep. Give me a second here. I've said this many times right here on this show, that anyone who is for open borders, whether it's a member of Congress or the administration doing nothing about open borders to stop the flow of what's coming across them, supports those responsible for the flow. Flow of drugs, gangs, murders, rapists, sex trafficking of women and children, all at the hands of the Mexican cartel. I'll make it pretty simple. If you're in a leadership position in America and not actively involved in stopping the flow of illegal activity on our southern border, then you are as guilty as the cartel themselves. The death of thousands of American men, women, and children are the results of your inaction. The blood of those that have been injured or killed is on your hands. Internal Watchdog report shows that U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, has lost tens of thousands of unaccompanied illegal immigrant minors over the past 5 years. The report titled Management Alert, ICE cannot monitor all undocumented migrant children released from Department of Homeland Security, which is run by Alejandro Marcos, and U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, custody that was issued by Inspector General Joseph Coughlin and addressed to ICE Deputy Director Patrick Lichtler, was sent to Congress on Tuesday. The report claims that during the last 5 years, 32,000 unaccompanied migrant children did not appear for immigration court hearings that were not accounted for by ICE. During an ongoing audit to access ICE's ability to monitor the location and statuses of the unaccompanied children who were released or transferred from custody of the Department of Homeland Security and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, we learned ICE transferred more than 483,000 unaccompanied children to HHS from fiscal year 2019 to 2023. However, ICE was not able to account for the location of these unaccompanied minors who were released by Homeland Security and did not appear as scheduled in immigration court, the Internal Watchdog added. ICE reported more than 32,000 unaccompanied children failed to appear for their immigration court hearings from fiscal year 2019 to 2023. The report noted that while ICE is responsible for overseeing unaccompanied migrant children throughout the immigration process, the recent investigation found that ICE cannot always monitor the location and status of the children that they've released from custody by the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of Health and Human Services. The report added, even though OPLA issued new guidance to verify the location of unaccompanied children who failed to appear for their court hearings and improve coordination with Homeland Security. We found ICE often neither followed this guidance nor issued corresponding guidance to its officers in the field. They warned that without ICE having the ability to monitor both the location and status of unaccompanied migrant children, the agency has no way to make sure they are protected from exploitation, forced labor, and sex trafficking. The report indicated that the statistics could be worse than they are estimating. And roughly 291,000 unaccompanied migrant children have not been marked for removal processing due to the agency's failing to schedule immigration courts, dates, and provide individuals with notice to appear in court. Bottom line, the Democrats in D.C. are guilty of sex trafficking women and children. Prove me wrong. Just in time for the upcoming election, the U.S. Centers for Disease and Prevention, aka the CDC, has issued a health advisory as they claim the B-19 respiratory disease is spreading across the United States. You ever heard of the B-19? It's like the COVID-19. Now it's the B-19. It's a highly contagious disease, they said, spreading in the U.S. CDC said in a press release. The CDC said it was issuing a health alert network health advisory to notify healthcare providers, public health authorities, and the public about current increase in human B-19 activity in the United States. CDC officials added recently, CDC has received reports indicating increased B-19 activity in the United States. Data included increased tests positive for B-19 in clinical specimens and pooled plasma from a large commercial laboratory, reports of clusters of B-19 associated complications among pregnant people, and people with sickle cell disease. Just the fact that the CDC is calling them pregnant people instead of women tells you what you need to know. The CDC advisory comes after European health officials reported unusual high numbers of B-19 cases across 14 countries in the first quarter of the year. So what is B-19? Well, I looked that up. Per the CDC's own damn website, which the Democrats hope you don't go and read tonight after I tell you about this, it's a common infection disease that is spread from person to person and most often results in no or very mild symptoms. The virus sometimes targets the cells that mature into red blood cells, causing a temporary stoppage of the production of these cells. An individual who has AIDS, for instance, B-19 can cause chronic anemia and may trigger an inflammatory reaction in patients who have just begun any anti-AIDS therapy. So, as we get closer to this election, we could very well see B-19 having to lock us all down, and we're going to have to go to mail-in ballots again and all that kind of good shit. Anyhow, you had many places you could be with me, or any place you could be tonight. Excuse me. I'm already thinking about what's going to happen to me tomorrow. I'm back out on the water again, getting ahead of myself. If you have any place you could be tonight, chose to be here with me. For that, I'm forever grateful. Thank you very, very much. To all the liberals and Democrats out there, I welcome you to fact check everything I just said. And to prove me wrong, well, then you got to go prove your darlings at CNN wrong. And I love it when I can turn around and put right back into your fucking face factual information that you claim could only come from CNN and places like MSNBC. So yes, here recently, I've been actually reading a lot of CNN articles because, hey, there's sometimes they get the shit right. Sometimes they're way off the mark. It's just like Fox News is, or any other news organization for that matter, whether it's left or right. Most of them are all full of crap to start with. which is why people like me exist. Try and weed through this for no reason whatsoever other than it's our patriotic duty. And we believe that it's our calling from above. And that's what I, for instance, continue to do. In the description of this show and all my shows, all my videos, you can see the places you can follow me on social media. Please follow me. I'll follow you back. That's how we do this. Please subscribe to the channel, whether you're watching me on YouTube or Rumble or LinkedIn or X, wherever it happens to be, and I will go in there and follow you back. Please share my videos, share the channels, let everybody know about the Douglas Ducote Show. Whatever you're going to be doing this weekend, I hope that you're safe. Hope that you have fun. If anything breaks between now and next Tuesday that's of importance to American patriots, I will either do a video about it or I will do a live show. Other than that, I plan on hitting the water to bar and being on the water throughout the weekend, enjoying our boat with the family. And I hope that you're safe and that you do everything in your power to share and spread conservative values and what MAGA actually stands for, which I shared at the beginning of tonight's show. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families in our country. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless each and every one of you. And if you do not know what angel families are or blue and gold star families, please look that up. They need our support now more than ever before, because this administration of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and I'm sure it will be an extension if she was to win in November, is pissing on the graves of the loved ones of angel families and gold star families and even blue star families, and that is unacceptable. Take care, everyone. Good night. God bless you, and have a wonderful and blessed weekend.